When you hear tarot reader, what do you think about first? The time you met one at a fair as a kid? The fear of being told your fortune would be terrible? The joy of finding someone that had a mythical talent that you desired to understand? Somewhere in between, perhaps? We've been there before. And if you're here, it definitely means you've been at least curious. Hi, my name's Supachi, a decade-long tarot reader, sound healer, and entertainer. Let me welcome you to understanding these feelings about tarot readers and what it means for yourself, and if you had an interest in readings from or wanting to become a tarot reader. In this short video, I'm going to lay the basic types of being a tarot reader and what different people may feel. Let's find if one of it's you, or if you've met any of these before. These aren't really entirely set in stone, but you might be able to understand them from a personal experience if you've met any of them before. Honorary first one, we'll put this out there. So, the mythical typical fortune teller. These are ones that are practically ripped out of those videos, movies, what have you, and they were more of a very scary, like, pair gone wrong on Halloween, a typical scary story setting maybe. They brood over their crystal ball with an unsavory grin. They somehow have the means to tell more misfortunes than actual fortunes, which, yeah, you might feel a certain type of way about these readers. And you might, because you'll get apprehensive about them. And getting another reading from anyone else ever again, you'd pass. You'd be like, that tarot reader gave me the worst reading ever. They were scary, and they were bad. You might be compelled to challenge their reading with another reader. We can talk more about that later. That is a subject. The next one up is the real first one, the family-tied fortune teller. These are usually one of the most respected culturally, if not quietly talked about, fortune tellers around. They probably had a great grandma that was a well-known fortune teller and passed along her practical teachings along with her kids, so on and so forth, all the way to them, and now to the one you talk to. Or there's someone that a friend said, hey, my friend's grandma practices Reiki, and, you know, their place and has all these symbols over it, but I don't know what it means. There's something along those lines. You might want to get a reading from these to get the cultural perspective, because there's a lot of cultural differences when it comes to tarot, and some tarot readers get really offended if you say certain words around them, and you want to know how their fortune telling was like back then, and you get their cultural the vibe, so to speak, from them, and you want to get a reading from them, and they'll hold like a high standard of how to like do tarot, and since it runs in the family, they do it well. They do it really good, you know. They hold that pride to a standard, and they're definitely usually willing to, you know, share their knowledge with you most of the time. The second one is the self-taught. These are usually younger tellers around, 25-ish, that either came from the honorary category, where, haunted house storytelling tarot readers inspired them, or they have a family member that does tarot reading, and they picked it up, and they were inspired and felt dutiful to do what they do. These are a mixed bag of backgrounds, ranging from learning all alone, taking classes to get to where they are, a bunch of certificates maybe, or perhaps maybe just becoming a stamped copy of like their family's religious practices. They could also learn to become a fortune teller out of defiance for their family practices. They could literally be those type of people that like don't like have any background in it whatsoever, but like their religion that they grew up in was like it was bad, you know. I'm talking to you. No, I'm kidding. You want to get a reading from these people because you'd want an understanding of like a modern certain reader and how they practically do things, how they personally do things, versus like, oh yeah, I've seen this at a fair, versus, you know, seeing this at a birthday party. Those type of things. And they might not like what you think they would look like, but these people would almost relatively be your age, and you'd want a reading from someone that's around your age, you know, something fresh. The final one, the last one, for now, is the unsavory. Differing from honorable mention, not like our honorable mention. These are more the ones where you look at them and question if they're there for enlightening your situation or there for your money. This one isn't too common in the proper holistic community, but there are some bad apples, and these would be the bad apples. These would be the ones that are like, these people will say something you really wanted to hear and then ask for a fucking load of money, and then you feel like you just got tipped because you know, it's something that like they told you, and then they're like, you know, pay me $3,000, you know, stuff like that. Or they tell you something that is extremely horrible, and but you end up coming back to them just so they will say something different. Like you go to them out of defiance, you know, you go to them out of sheer spite. You go to them and be like, you said shit last time, and now I'm coming back because I had a good day today, you know, stuff like that. And they don't really explain themselves. They just really want your money. So, you know, so as if you walk in a room with them and they are already calculating how much you can give them for their words. These readers, you really only want to get a reading from to see their credibility. If you don't have the time, don't get a reading from them. Don't spend extra time with them if they're not helping you, if they're not doing their job correctly. They might look like either of the above, actually, but if greed sometimes looks like that's like the only motive, tell you anything, you shouldn't bother. You really shouldn't bother. There's a difference between doing it as a job and being a scammer and just doing it, because that's a thing too. That's definitely a thing. We can go over more of that too if people ask questions about that. So by now, you're wondering, what part of these readers have I met and fall under all of these? My answer is just use your intuition. Your guess would be as good as mine if you told me about your experience. Now, there's quite a few of these people that mix in together. I did mention this before, but this video was just an introduction to my short stories about tarot reading and my life as a tarot reader as a whole. And what I learned over my decade-long tenure, I've learned a lot, but it looks so much different than it was before, you know. Just at this point, Thank you for coming. If you've made it here this long, hi. Please support my business, the Cosmic Librarian, over on Ko-Fi, where I have a $1,000 goal to be able to continue my freelancing gigs as a fortune teller and add more instruments to my sound healing sessions. My next video series is how I started and what I learned very quickly as a fledgling reader. See you soon! I know that one was scuffed as hell.